Well, hello everybody. It's me, Rattail, aka Mark Rattell, which would be my real name. And I'm here to give a testimony on my journey from New Age spirituality and psychedelics to where I'm at now, which is Christ, Christianity, and I guess you could say an Orthodox Christian inquirer. Man, alright, where to start? So I was raised Catholic. My family was Catholic. My mother was Catholic. I went to Catholic school growing up. Me and my mother would walk to Catholic school every single day, and Catholic church every single day. And that's the same school that I attended, which was St. John of the Cross in Lemon Grove, which is a San Diego, California area. And I believed in Christ at the time. When I was young, from a very young age, I believed in Christ. I really did. And I remember being in church and even trying to squint my eyes and see something happen, as the priests were preparing the Eucharist for communion and such. So that goes back real far. I believed in Christ from a very young age. I was raised in Catholicism, and I went to Catholic school at St. John of the Cross. And I went there until 6th grade was my final year at St. John of the Cross. And then 7th grade, I switched over to public school. Started going to public school after that because I got into, I think, 3 fights in 1 year. And we had somebody that was paying for our tuition, and we didn't know who they were. They were an anonymous person was paying for my tuition all the way from preschool up till 6th grade, when I punched like 3 people in the face in 1 year, and then they stopped paying. And I went to public school for my first year, and that was also the first year that I smoked marijuana. The first day of public school, I was already smoking weed. First day, right off the bat. So that was pretty quick. How that happened. And that was 7th grade. Let's skip ahead a little bit here. And I was skateboarding, into smoking weed. Definitely dabbled in some other drugs in my teenage years. But the main point of this story, in my recent years, I started delving into, actually 10 years back. Okay, let's go 10 years back. Kundalini Yoga. I found Kundalini Yoga about 10 years ago. Okay? And I started training it hardcore. I started doing these, I found this video called An Introduction to Kundalini Yoga by Sarah Klein, and I started doing that like every day, just like trying to master it, this like little 45 to an hour long video. And I would do this MMA training. I would do Boss Rutan's all around body workout, and I would do that off YouTube as well, about 45 minutes, bam, 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 get in there with that, and I'd wind down with some Kundalini after. And that was my routine for many years, and I did it like religiously, and it was a religion, which I didn't know at the time. I didn't know its roots in Hinduism and just all these postures, what they really meant as reverence to specific deities, specific postures, and specific breathing patterns and such, all being part of deep-rooted Hinduism practices. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know. But regardless of me knowing, I was engaging in these things. And I had an experience. Which is called online as a Kundalini awakening. But I had a specific experience. A blue pearl, where I saw a blue pearl. And a blue pearl, let me tell you my experience. So I had a real intense MMA workout, like really pushing it, and I went into this very deep breathing, trance-like state after, where I was doing this breath of fire, and then I was doing something called Shambhavi Mudra, with my eyes crossed while they're closed and aiming up at my pineal gland. And I was doing this, and all of a sudden I felt this overwhelming energy start flowing through me, and I saw what came into my third eye vision, with which, like, my vision with my eyes closed, kind of focused here, was a blue orb of energy, and it came into my vision, and I felt this overwhelm. I started crying, tears of joy that I felt at the time, and I was just overwhelmed. It was a very overwhelming experience, and I went to work and I was kind of crying tears of joy and things of this nature, and then it kind of fizzled away after a week or so, which things that are not of God tend to do. At the time, I thought it actually changed me, which I feel weird saying. I don't know. I'm trying to word this I'm trying to be very careful with my words. I'm trying to word this gracefully, but I'm also trying to be honest. You know, I want to be honest, but I also want to be graceful with my words, because I tend to not be so graceful with my words at certain times. And I feel like this testimony needs a lot of grace to be told properly and to really reach the people that it needs to reach. I had this experience, and at the time I was what you could say is an agnostic, which is I didn't know if God was real or not. I was kind of in between atheism and theism, believing in not believing in God and believing in God. And at that moment, I definitely knew there was something more out there. I thought that was from God, but now, as I've come to experience more in this kind of realm of Kundalini Yoga, New Age, everything is one, and you have the truth within yourself. It's all within yourself kind of mentality. I've noticed there's a lot of similarities between that and the self-illuminating philosophy of Lucifer, where he believed he was, you know, the one who was deserving of the glory. You know what I mean? So I've come to notice that, and I've come to connect a lot of dots, and there's been a lot of signs, and I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in this, and there might be multiple parts to this, and there might be, I'm sure there probably will be, but I had that experience. It was very profound. It changed me from an agnostic to a theist, and it was part of my journey. It was part of my journey, and I continued to do Kundalini Yoga for many years, off and on, not as religiously at certain times as others, you know. But I always had Christ in the back of my mind, not in the forefront, but I always had him in the back of my mind, and I don't know if I ever really truly disbelieved him, but I definitely had my doubts, and I fell astray, obviously, as you can tell by the story I'm telling. And I definitely do believe that the prayers of certain people in my family, and just being in close contact with Christ at a young age, and the experiences that I have, I do believe there was some sort of protection kind of guiding me through all these experiences. But anyways, moving forward in the story. So I had this experience, a blue pearl experience, and as the years go on, many years later, about 3 or 4 years ago, I'm not sure, maybe 3 years ago, um, I started getting. I had a while back, about a year after that Kundalini experience, I had a magic mushroom experience, where I took magic mushrooms with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and I took like maybe just a few grams, maybe 2 grams or somewhere, not even an eighth, and I had a real bad trip. And I had taken them before when I was in my teens, and I didn't really have too bad of an experience. But that time I actually turned purple, like physically purple. I wasn't hallucinating that I was purple, like my girlfriend at the time saw that I was actually purple in the face, and I became cold to the touch, and I felt like I was literally dying. Like I was not like an ego death, like I felt like I was physically like dying, and I just curled up in a fetal position, and she just kind of held me for a long time until it ended. And I had that. That was about 9 years ago, something like that. And I always wanted to conquer that. I wanted to go back and I felt like there was something I needed to conquer there for some reason. That's what I felt. And about 3 years ago or so, maybe two, I'm not sure exactly, I started getting back into the mushroom realm through herbalism. I started delving deep into herbalism. I was doing another Kundalini Yoga session actually in the place that I'm staying, and I was deep in meditation. And I'm not sure if I was doing Shambhavi Mudra, whatever I was doing. I'm not sure what practice I was doing exactly. It's not really important. There's a big pine tree outside of my apartment complex that I stay at now, and I believed I had, and I would go around and tell this to people, and I still don't know what to think of it now. I'm still processing a lot of this. This is all fresh for me. I just need to document this. I feel like I need to get this out so bad. And I've been holding it in for a while, a lot of this, at least from the perspective that I'm at now. I believed that I had some sort of communication with the spirit of the tree. And I believe that it put an image in my brain while I was meditating. This pine tree, this old, very tall pine tree outside of my house. I believe that it put an image in my brain of an old tree that I used to play in when I was a child in Lemon Grove, where I grew up, by Central Avenue. And at the time, I was delving into mugwort. I was researching this weird unknown herb with very mild psychedelic properties called mugwort. It's related to sage. It's related to wormwood. And I think I had purchased a little bit from a herb shop, a local herb shop. Yeah, I had, and I really wanted to harvest my own. I was really trying to learn. I was looking it up online and trying to learn the body language of it per se. I was trying to learn the structure of it so I could recognize it in nature when I saw it myself, and I could harvest some of my own. And so I had this experience with where I thought I was talking to a tree, and through yoga, and it put this image in my head, and maybe I was, I had some very unique experiences through this time, and there's more to add in here. There's more gaps to fill in, but we're trying to get to the goal of the story here. And I started. So I went to where that tree was in on Central Avenue, and on my way there, I ended up coming by an old canyon I used to play in down in that same area. And what I did is I went down into that canyon and I found a patch of mugwort growing there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this tree led me to this herb that I've been looking for, and I harvested some of my own mugwort, and I still use herbs to this day. I still make some of my own tinctures, and I do believe there's some definite, really cool, awesome benefits to making your own medicine and preparing your own medicine and preparing your own food, things of this nature. Knowing herbs, knowing what certain herbs do, ginger and St. John's wort, and yarrow, and there's elderberry, and there's all different types of cool things you can learn out in nature, and there's beautiful things that God has put here for us to use to help ourselves. That is true. But that being said, there's also some things that He put here that we shouldn't um, indulge in, and that's expressed through the one of the first stories in the Bible with the apple in the Garden of Eden. And I think a lot of that does relate, obviously, to psychedelics and entheogens. And as mild as they may be, it's all a gateway into another realm that we may not be so prepared to navigate. And you don't know exactly what you're opening yourself up to. And you're opening yourself up to all different types of spirits. And a good point that I saw in a recent testimony is, do we open ourselves up just as humans in the physical sense, in the sense of the flesh? Do you open yourselves up to any type of human? I mean, you wouldn't open yourselves up to be vulnerable to a serial killer in the same room as you. You would be on guard. You wouldn't want to be vulnerable around someone like that, right? And there's spirits that you also don't want to be vulnerable around. So we've got to be careful of what we open ourselves up to. And that being said, I started making things with Mugwort. I started kind of delving more into astral projection from that point, and I started using things like wormwood and mugwort in different ways to meditate and try to astral project. And I do believe I actually experienced a couple times astral projecting, which is projecting your soul outside of your body to travel around while you're in some meditative state. Your flesh is here, you're rising out of your body, looking down on yourself, floating around, basically. That would be astral projection. So I was delving into that. I was delving into these new age philosophies of everything is one, and I do believe it's all connected with Kundalini and paganism and old worshiping nature and kind of worshiping creation over creator. And I think a lot of it has to do with thinking that we can save ourselves and thinking that we can save ourselves through creation and through means of the flesh and things that we put inside of our body. And there's only a certain extent to which we can save ourselves spiritually, physically, and mentally without a relationship with the true and living Son of God, Jesus Christ. And I'm going to get more into that let me continue my story here, though. So, as that was going on, I'm delving into that, and I end up coming upon this local group that goes out and tries to help people through psychedelic therapy. People with PTSD and things of that nature. And I don't want to give too many details because I don't want to condemn anyone, because I'm just coming fresh out of this world as well. So I'm not in any place to talk down to anybody, to judge anybody. I just want to tell my story and my particular experience with all these things that I came into contact with when I was trying to quest for the truth. I was on a genuine quest for the truth, as a lot of us all are right now and have been for many years. I was on a genuine quest for the truth. And that's what led me to all these things. And one second, let me take a sip of water here if you don't mind. One moment. All right. And I started getting to know these people and going on walks. We do these nature walks, things of that nature. And I ended up coming into contact with a actual Indian organization that does like a Native American organization that holds mushroom ceremonies. And me and my wife ended up traveling out to native land to engage in a very high dose magic mushroom ceremony. So 15 grams to be exact. So this is where the story gets a little bit more interesting. And we travel out to native land, me and my wife, and people from this other group that we were doing those walks with are also there. We go out to this native land, and we came out. We had prepared. We had about 2 weeks. We abstained from drinking. We were eating a very particular diet, like a lot of sushi and a lot of just very healthy foods, not too much junk food at all, and really abstaining from alcohol, no sex, none of that, just abstaining from all what I would call back then low frequency stuff. I try to stay away from that language, that can be a little, it can blur the lines at a certain point, and I'm not trying to blur the lines anymore. I'm trying to have some more defined lines, if you catch my drift. But one moment. Gotta keep hydrated. So, where was I? We travel out to native land, me and my wife, for this very high dose ceremony, and we're going around. We're gathering sage from everybody's gathering sage to be cast into the fire as offerings to, I can't really say, because it's not really my practice. I don't know if it was to creator or to creation, but there was definitely a lot of aspects to this ceremony. And we would sit around. You would go into the circle and walk around a certain way in a clockwise fashion only around the fire. And if you were to go out, you'd do the same thing. And we had our sage that we gathered throughout the day, and we sat down, and the leader of the ceremony had a big massive bowl of mushrooms, and we all got like a big handful, like 2 handfuls of mushrooms that we ate. And we ate our mushrooms. Everybody had their hands out and got their mushrooms, and then I ate my mushrooms, 15 grams. Me and my wife did the full dose, 15 grams. And we're sitting there, and maybe we're fine, about 40 minutes in or so, the stars literally, we look up at the sky. This is in the middle of the night. This ceremony is going through the middle of the night. I think it started about 9 or 10 p.m. and it goes in just straight through the night. And we look up, and there was tons of stars out originally. We'd been looking at the stars earlier in the evening, and they just, about 40 minutes in, they just disappeared. The sky became just black. Just no stars, just black. Never seen anything like it. And my wife said to me, "Did the stars just disappear?" And I look up, and it's just black. And we were in a literal portal. We were in a portal. And shortly after that, I saw, man, I'm telling you, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, dude. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Shortly after that, I saw in my vision, it flashed an upside down pentagram, flashed into my vision, and then that same circle turned into Baphomet, the face of Baphomet. And right after that, multiple people in the circle around me started retching almost in it, kind of like almost like there was almost like a demon present, and multiple people started kind of groaning. Like, it was just very weird. And shortly after that, there was an elderly gentleman there. I'm not gonna say any people's names or anything like that, and he was moving around the fire almost like a gremlin, like physically started moving like a demon, and making these demonic noises, to the point where one of the helpers there, who was sober, had to kind of calm him down and tell him to chill out a little bit, because he was freaking. I mean, he was definitely affecting my vibes at the ceremony, because I was like, man, I've never seen someone I've literally saw someone be possessed by a demon in that moment, and it wasn't a hallucination. That wasn't a hallucination. That was real. Like the pentagram flashing, that was like some sort of visionary thing that came in. But then it was interesting how that interacted with physical reality directly after. It was very interesting. A lot of interesting things happened that night, and so I'm watching all this happen, and I'm like, man, what is going on here? I'm just taking it all in with an open mind, and I'm sitting there in the circle, and we keep riding it out, and I'm trying to keep my focus on the fire, because that's what I was told to do, to keep just to kind of keep your focus and to stay in the moment. And we were also told to not bring any of our beliefs in there, and deep down at the time, I still was moving slowly towards Christianity in a weird way, but I think I was attending church at the time, at a Christian church, but I was definitely having my doubts, or else I wouldn't have been out there in the first place searching for all these other alternative answers. But I definitely thought I was doing the right thing with all these. Because there was all these things coming out about how entheogens can help people with PTSD, and I met with this group of people who were actually military vets who seemed to be doing better, who I thought were doing better. And it seemed like people were telling me that they were having these good experiences with psychedelics, and I was taking their word for it more so than anything. You know, I believed them, I trusted their word, and I was like, this seems to be working for a lot of people. Say, hey, maybe let's see if there can be some benefits in it for me. Not that I suffer from super bad PTSD as if a war vet may have, but I definitely have some issues as well, as we all do. I was like, hey, let's see if maybe this can offer some sort of benefits or insight, or help me get closer to God or find the truth, you know, because I was on this quest for truth, like I mentioned before. And back to the ceremony. Let's not get too distracted here. So we stay in the circle. I'm riding it out. I'm staying focused on the fire. I'm seeing visions of like geometric shapes, things of that nature inside of the fire. And then before you know it, it's like 5 or 6 hours later, and we're told to leave the fire. We're told to leave the fire area, and they're hosing off the fire. It's still kind of burning. Still burning though, but they're just kind of winding it down. And we exit, and we go to stay in our room. We had a room where we were going to stay in that night, and on the way to the room, things just weren't going well. Like my wife had to use the restroom, and she was having some issues. It was really starting to hit her too. She was holding her own very well. She stayed in the whole ceremony and everything, and we wrote it out fine. But just making it to the room became such a chore on 15 grams, I swear, man. Just getting up and navigating, just